And we're live! Woo! Welcome along to the live stream, everybody. I'm glad you didn't see what was going on when the countdown timer was gone. Up a ladder, blowing fuses, resetting fuses. I love an Adorama TV live. I mean, that's it. All the bad stuff's happened. It's all going to be smooth sailing from here. Stick around and find out whether that comes true or not. So welcome to Adorama. For those that don't know me, let me introduce myself. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey. I'm one of the presenters right here on Adorama TV. And I mean, if you want to stick around in 3 hours' time, we've got another live with Daniel. So we are awash with live streams on Adorama TV tonight. I'm not here on my own. You can see them and you can hear them. Behind my camera that I'm looking at is Freya on the Super Switcher, Sam on the comments.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? We've got lots of people here.
Have we?
Yeah. Would you like to know where everyone's from?
Maybe just the edited
just
highlights.
Just a few.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got Portugal, Czech Republic, Kuwait, we've got Lisbon, we've got Milton Keynes, Bavaria. They're everywhere,
Bavaria.
Literally everywhere.
Marvellous.
Yeah, it's great to see where everyone's from.
Yes, they're marvellous. Oh, sorry, I'm back. Million things to do. Right, okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, that was, I mean, Milton Keynes to Bavaria. What a right, oh. We'll cut that, start that again. Milton Keynes to Bavaria, what a wide selection. Good job it's not live, isn't it? Okay, so what are we doing tonight? We are doing grids. Grids are the topic for this session, and this is a grid. If you've not experienced a grid before, they come in a couple of different sizes and they come in different types, different for softboxes and reflectors. This is one, I think, from a beauty dish from years gone back. The idea with the grid is pretty simple. If you look straight through it, you kind of see straight through it. I mean, that's kind of that really, isn't it? But if it's off axis, then it blocks light. So first things first, grids don't focus light. That's not what they do. That's a different thing altogether. That's called a Fresnel head. A grid blocks light, but it blocks it in a way that allows you to stop it from going where you don't want it to go or put it where you do want it to go. And in this session, I'm going to go through some of those things. We've got a lot to get through in the next hour, so I will crack on. But if you've got any questions about what we're doing, if you're watching live, stick your questions in the chat as we go along. Sam will fire over the best ones as we do. And if you're watching the recording, hello recorded people, you can put your questions in the comments. That would be awesome. Right, let's bring in the amazing Chloe. In you come, Chloe. Give it up for Chloe. Woo! So once again, Chloe is our model for this live session. Thank you very much for doing this, Chloe. Genuinely appreciate it. And I've already set something up before we got going. Let me just check that what I've done works. But whilst I'm checking this, what's the first picture I'm going to take? Pop it in the chat if you know what the very first picture is. It's quite a specific one. On Adorama, we kind of insist that everybody does this first. I think it's in our contracts, if I actually read mine, probably somewhere down the bottom. It says I must do this. So yeah, okay, I'm working with some kit. Camera-wise, I've got the Olympus OM1. That doesn't really matter. This isn't a camera-specific thing. I've got the Flashpoint Evolve 200 Pro Mark II as my main light, and my backlight is the Flashpoint Evolve 200 Pro Mark I.
You've
So
had
those are
some
the lights.
answers.
Yes,
So,
already.
Yeah. Philippe, NFMP.
NFMP.
Yeah. Dark image. No flash, no picture.
Marvellous.
Selfie. I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, that's my channel. Yeah, selfie
And
channel.
Michael said, can we get Chloe to do the infamous Gavin Hoey side eye?
I didn't know there was a thing. What? Hey.
That was the last live we did.
Oh yeah, that was. Oh okay. I
Yeah.
can't remember. That was
Black
Tuesday.
picture, black screen.
Oh, you weren't here. Don't
Switch
worry.
on the flash.
Switch on the flash.
No flash,
Yeah,
no
not
picture.
yet.
They're all on it.
All right, everyone's got it. Brilliant. Yeah, no flash, no picture is exactly it. So I'm going to turn the flash off, which is just easier just to turn the transmitter off because we've got two flashes. I'm just going to take a picture at my settings. I've got f8 as my aperture for a reasonable depth of field, 250th of a second, and ISO 200. And if I take a picture at those settings, what we should get is this. No flash, no picture. That means we have complete control over the ambient light in this room. Anything you see from this point onwards is entirely down to me. So if you like it, anything you see is down to me. And if you don't like it, or there's just a gremlin in the works, I don't know what happened. That's kind of what we're going to roll with. So, brilliant. So let's turn the flashes back on. And let's see if we can get a picture in the first 6 or so minutes of this live stream. Here we go. Hang on, that was a test. Chloe's off. Do you want to look at me? Let's do it badly. If we're going to do it badly, let's do it badly. Okay, hang on a second. There we go. That's what we're after. Okay, so there's a couple of issues with this. The first one is, yep, Chloe is not lit at the front. Maybe that's what you want. We can fix that really easily, and we will do in a moment. But the reason I've taken this picture is because of these bits here. That bit on that side, and that bit over there. So against the dark background, you can clearly see that the lights are flaring. Because they're very close to the edge of the frame, and they're very bright, you'll get flare from your lights if you don't do something about it. So let's start with some reasons you might want to use a grid. And the first one is exactly for that, to remove or reduce the amount of flare. So I've got a couple of grids. You can see they kind of, one way you see through them, and then they are black. They go into the reflectors. And because I'm using grids, if anyone's ever done this, you'll know this is instantly going to fix my problem. The only tricky bit is actually getting it in, there we go, without dropping it. Normally I wouldn't worry, but when you're live, you know, you're trying to look like you're a professional. Something like that. Now, the grids do have a bit of a downside in as much as they will eat light. So let me work out how much. I mean, if you want to have a guess in the comments, how much light do you think a solid grid is going to eat? So I'm at F8 at the moment. Let's see what we're going to get. If I pop this near your chin, Chloe. No, that can't be right, really. That's it. Okay, what do you reckon my F number is? You can do the maths, because I can't actually do the maths in my head on this one. My F number with that grid in place has suddenly dropped to 3.6.
Yes, so you've had a lot of people guessing.
Yeah.
It's a few 1 stops, 1.5, 1.6, 2 stops, 0.8, 1, 1. 2 stops, I think, was the highest.
I'd have guessed that as well. Honestly, that's exactly what I would have guessed. So I'm quite surprised about that. Whoop, hello. Just not press that button. There we go.
I'll mention a question,
Yes.
because it'll get lost otherwise, and it's probably something you might circle back to, I don't know. Do grids help with smoke? That's Alan.
I mean, they shouldn't smoke. Something's on fire if they're smoking. But I get what you mean, Alan, sorry. So they don't really help, but what they can do is give a direction to the light. So we'll look at how these lights operate in a little bit. I'll show you some actual lighting images of just the lights by themselves. So if you've ever seen those beams of light, you can get that more easily with a grid. We've got a whole video about that, not surprisingly, on Adorama TV, but they won't necessarily help. In fact, they'll often hinder because it'll stop light being backlit with a grid.
We've also got Welsh Lad 92. Wow, I'm actually catching a show live. Oh, well done. Anyone else here for the first time? Let us know in the comments.
Okay, so here we go. Look at that. Before we had flare, and now we've got less flare. Hang on a minute, what's going on? The flare on this side is completely gone. I put a grid on, I remetered, the flare disappeared. We'll talk about the background in a minute. But look, the flare on this side is exactly the same. If anything, it's worse. Because the background is darker, you can really see the flare. So what went wrong? Why didn't that work? Well, the thing about grids is they will reduce flare, but only if you use them correctly. So I'll take a wide shot and I'll show you what's going on. Let me explain a little clearer. Let me take a wide picture. Here we go. Okay, so this is the side without the flare. You can see that, no flare, nice and clear. This is the side with the flare, and that's because I'm looking straight through the grid. So the grid isn't doing what I want it to do. It's restricting the light, but it's not restricting it in a way that's stopping it from coming into the lens. So if you're looking to reduce flare, you've got to move your light so you can't see through it from your camera's point of view. It can still hit Chloe, it can still go there, that's fine. Okay, here we go. So, there we go. Is a little bit of flare, I'll live with that, but basically the flare is gone, as near as damn it.
So we have a question.
Yeah, far away.
This is Joe. Why would you want to use different degree of grids at the same time?
At the same time, well, if you're doing that, there's probably a good reason for it. So maybe you're doing something where you need to light a small pool of light somewhere and you need a bigger pool of light somewhere else. Then you'd use different sized grids in degree terms. But we'll talk about how that works in a little bit, Joe, so I will circle back round to that. But it's probably because you want a spot there and a pool of light over there.
Got quite a few people here for the first time.
Hey, always nice to have some newbies.
Yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that works quite nicely. Chloe, just turn, let's do it properly. Let's turn to the side. Marvellous. Okay, and it's going to look like this. I can probably actually turn that light down. In fact, I'm going to make it black and white because I think it's going to look better in black and white. There we go. So this is really simple. So you can see I'm getting nice, juicy, deep blacks. I'm not getting any flare from my lights because I feathered the lights away from the camera angle, but they're still hitting the back of Chloe's head. Marvellous. Okay, which is kind of nice. So that works quite nicely. We could make this do you want to stand up for me? We can make this a little bit more exciting. Let's drop that down there. There we go. And yeah, you can stand in the circle of truth on the floor. Smashing. Lovely. So I can make this a little bit less edgy, just bring this around a little bit. Chloe, when you look through that grid, can you see the light? If Chloe can see through the grid, then the light's going to reach her eyes. We could use a modelling lamp. Very difficult to see modelling lamps when you've got room lights this bright. But also, it just works. If your model can see, then so will your light.
Can you take some more questions?
Yeah, of course I can.
So Matty has asked, do the grids always come in black or do they come in different colours? And if they do the colours affect the end result?
Funny you should say that. I had this distant memory that somebody did a white grid for speedlights. And they did, yes, there was once a white grid for speedlights using the flash bender system, had a white grid for speedlights. I can't remember the reason for it. I think it softened the edges a little bit, but by and large, no, they all come in black.
And Welsh Lad asked, is there a reason for ISO 200 instead of 100 or even lower?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The reason is that is the native ISO for this particular camera, the OM system OM1, formerly Olympus. Their native ISO is 200. And also, if you think about it like this, 200 ISO means any flash power I'm using is half the amount of power compared to 100 ISO. You're not going to notice any difference in quality, but you are going to save the planet one flash at a time. It just saves the battery.
And one more while you're on the roll.
Yeah.
Alex asked, can barn doors work like a grid?
Yes and no. No, they're not like a grid. They work differently. They do sometimes a similar thing, but a grid will generally put, well, a circle if it's this shape. You can be more accurate and more linear with a set of barn doors, but the trouble with barn doors is you often get like a refraction pattern coming off them if you get really small ones, which is what most people buy. So barn doors, a different but similar idea. A bit like saying snoot versus grid. Similar idea, slightly different results. All right, okay, so background went really dark. If you remember right at the beginning, if I hop back on my images, we had right back to the beginning. There we go. There's a background. Remember that background? It disappeared as I moved my lights around because the grids directed the light away from the background. Well, why have a grid that directs things away from the backgrounds? Why not just turn the light around? So that's exactly what I've done. I've turned the light around and I've faced it towards the background. Should we go back to colour? Let's go back to colour. The trouble is, I've taken the grid off. So this is the spread of light using a non-gridded light. Here we go. Let's see if we can just center that up. It is pretty wide. So a grid can help you to put light into a smaller area. So at the moment, that's a bit too big and wide a wash of light. I like my background lights to be more direct. I could just physically move it closer. That actually does work quite often. Or I could put the grid in. So I've added a grid to this light. I'm going to try and line it up roughly with the background. Only one way to find out. And we'll see how that changes the image. So same picture again, more or less. There we go. So you'll see the light doesn't really change on Chloe because the light on Chloe is the same light. But you can see how it vignettes the background, which I think is nicer. You could do that in post, but it looks so much nicer in the real world. I just think this is a little bit hard, this light. So let's soften things up. If you're standing there or sitting there or lying there watching this thinking, yeah, that was a bit hard, I like my light to be really soft, stick around. Daniel's going to be covering soft light in a couple of hours on his live stream. All right, let's try and get this on. There we go.
So another question.
Yeah, far away.
Ricardo asked, what about if the grid is diagonal or straight? Does it make a difference?
Not really, no. Not in my experience. It may do if you're into your physics, there may be a reason, but you can see at the moment this is diagonal. I haven't really thought about it. Actually, you can't see. Let me just see if I can turn the modelling lamp on.
Seth's on here saying 250 watching, only 110 likes. Come on, help Gavin out.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Should we go for a shallow depth of field? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so a little bit of a shallower depth of field thing going on. I've switched lenses to the OM system, or Olympus technically, 45mm f1.2. I'm not going to be quite at f1.2, but close enough. There we go. And you can just see how that just smooths out the background. I've also got a softbox lighting Chloe now as well, which just gives nicer light on Chloe's face. And this works really well. So I can control that spread of light by either having the grid on or the grid off. And Chloe read my mind. I forgot to say, we're going to take a few photos, Chloe. So good. So good.
Another question?
Yeah, sure.
Says Diego, when would you choose a softbox with a grid versus using a grid that attached directly to the flash? I know the gridded softbox would be softer, but would the spread be different?
Yes. In my experience, by and large, you can get a different spread with the small 7-inch reflectors and that kind of thing at a lower price point. Softboxes tend to come with a grid, and that's about it. Let me show you what I mean. If I just dive into my images here, I've got some pre-prepared images. Okay, so this is the same softbox that we're using now, the Hexapop 24-inch without the grid. It comes with a grid. It claims to be a 30-degree grid. I'm not going to measure it and argue with it, but you can see what it does. It pushes the light forwards and stops it spreading to the sides. But that's it. I can't have another size grid. Strip box are the same. I've got a strip box here, no grid, grid. I have a choice of no grid or grid. I don't have a choice of anything else. But if I go with a reflector I can have different grid sizes. So that's a 50-degree grid, that's a 30-degree grid, and that's a 10-degree grid. So there's a bit more choice on the harder reflectors, and at certainly the budget points I'm working at, I get a choice of grid or no grid, and that's about it on softboxes. Good question. That was good because we spent a whole live stream putting those images together. So I'm glad someone asked that. Okay, so that's okay. What if you haven't got multiple lights? Yeah, you might want to step away for this bit, Chloe, just saying. What if you've only got one light? What could you do then? So let's get rid of this light. Let's get rid of that light. And let's look at a use for grids that's maybe a little less traditional. Because those are, if I'm going to call them anything, those are the traditional, the normal ways that grids get used. You use grids to stop light spilling in places you don't want it to go, which means you get less flare, which means you get vignetting on backgrounds and stuff like that. That's kind of what they're for. We've got another 40 minutes because the rest of it is fun. Because once you've learnt the basics, time to break some rules, time to experiment, see what happens. Use the famous phrase that I really love people to say, what happens if, ... What happens if I do this? I don't know, let's find out. So, I've got the biggest grid on the biggest softbox I could find. It's big this way, so this is, oh, I bet it's on the other side. The 12 by 56 inch strip box. I've left gear links in the video description if you want to go find out what these things are. You'll find some links back to Adorama
so you got
there.
A question.
Yeah, go for it.
What size modifier should I use for a full body portrait shot using a grid? This is Carlos.
Using a grid. Well, we're going to do some full body-ish length portraits using a grid later on, Carlos. The grid won't help you make your full body portrait pictures evenly lit. In fact, it'll do the opposite. As you'll see, if you can't make it for later in the live stream, you'll get a lit face, but by the time you get down to your feet, the light would have restricted and not hit there. So none of them. If you want a clean, evenly lit full body, and if you want a non-evenly lit full body, then it's entirely up to you. I mean, everything will give you a full body length from a standard 7-inch reflector to a 56. I think we've probably got a video on Adorama TV about full length and sizes. If I haven't done one, I suspect Daniel or Lindsay or Seth probably has.
Also, PH said, could you use a grid with the lights trainer?
Well, hang on. I put that back in the cupboard and I knew someone would ask me about that. I knew I shouldn't have put it away. Right, here we go. Right, hold on. Back in the room. Okay,
Did you have to get the cutlery out?
let's not go there. Okay, this is an expensive thing. But basically, this is just a grid, isn't it? If you look at it, you know, from that point of view, it's just a grid with more metal and less holes. And yeah, so it is effectively a grid that's stretched out. So it kind of works. Could you use the two together? No, it would be a disaster. It's a crazy idea. Definitely never, ever, under any circumstances, should you do that. Immediately do that. It sounds great. Okay, so Chloe, do you want to come in and stand sort of here-ish? So I'm going to put Chloe at the back third of the strip box. I'm going to put the strip box as close to the wall as I can really get it, which, sorry, Chloe. This gives me the opportunity to remind everyone that, as Daniel says, if you're going to hit your model with a softbox, use a softbox because it's soft. I love that joke. It makes me smile every time. Okay. Right.
Is this the point where you say you need a bigger studio?
No, but you do have a point. I do need a bigger studio.
Yeah.
For anyone that wants to know, 15 feet by, that's probably less than 10 feet. And then I kind of walk into the cameras. So all a bit of a squeeze. Okay, Chloe, I'm going to pop this near your chin, take a meter reading. F5.6. So if I want to work at, should we do shallow depth of field? I've still got this lens on. I'm going to leave it on. When in doubt, use the lens that's on. I could meter for high-speed sync, or I can just do it by eye, which is what we're going to do. Okay, look at that. There's a background there. Massive strip box, and yet the background is basically disappearing. I'm just going to adjust it just so I can get the right... There we go, that looks better.
This one for Chloe.
What?
My sister-in-law loves your dress.
Oh,
So Carrie loves your dress.
thank you. I'm trying to think where it's from. I can't remember. Thank you.
Marvellous. Good, yeah, looks good. You're not supposed to get questions. If you've got any questions for Chloe, do put them in. Okay, so here's the thing. Black backgrounds. And we know we're going to get that black background because from the point of view of the background, if I stand here, I can't see any of this at all. Everything I'm looking at is black. So if you can't see any of the white of the softbox, very little light is likely to make it to where you're standing. If I come over here, I can see, oh, am I out of the shot? Oh no, I'm in. I can see right through it. So light would come here. It's going to be black right behind Chloe. Wait a minute. I don't want it to be black back there. I want to have some light. I've got this lovely Manfrotto textured background. Can't even see it. What's the point? I've only got one light. How can I get light back here and light on Chloe? Stick it in the comments. 2 for 1. How can I get a double light? I mean, there's a couple of ways I could do this. The first way is I could actually move the whole gridded softbox back against the wall. I'm not going to do that because that would involve me moving something and I can't be bothered. You know, it's a long way. Hang on.
So we've had some answers.
Yep, go for it.
Half grid the light.
Half. Yeah.
Reflector, they're coming in really quick. I'm trying to grab them as they go past. Reflector behind Chloe. Feather. Move her over.
Feathering's a good one. We could have done feathering.
Feather it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Move Chloe close to the wall.
That's a good answer. I like
Take
that.
grid off.
Yeah, move Chloe closer to the wall. Yeah, no, Chloe's
Make
not moving.
Chloe clear somehow.
Like, transparent Chloe.
That's it.
Feathering's good. Yeah, I could feather it. That's a very good answer. Let's see if I feather it. Okay, that actually isn't too bad. I kind of like that. Trouble is, I don't want to feather it. Because if I feather it, then I'm getting more light here, and this is becoming part of my picture. I've managed to avoid it there, but it ends up being in my shot, so I don't want to feather the light. I don't have the room. Okay, half. I would not go half. You don't need to go half. But whoever said sort of reduce the size of your strip box, you're pretty much bang on. Nobody says your grid has to go all the way across. So I can have a little window of light. And from here, I can see that window really clearly. Okay, it's definitely there. I still can't see any of the rest of the grid. That's all black. But that should be enough to throw probably more than enough light back onto that background. Okay. So if we just go back, we'll get rid of that one. There we go. So that's with the whole grid in place, and that's with the back edge just slightly removed. And I can even refine it by saying, well, maybe that's a bit much. Let's half that amount. So now I've got, if you want to know how much, I've got the width of your screen. That's how much light is showing. It's top right corner on Adorama Live Bingo. Okay, and that just gives me that little extra edge, which is kind of cool. Really nice. Hang on a minute, I've got another light. I've got a light over here.
All these lights are listed, are they, on the description?
Yes.
Yeah, as Diego's just asked.
Christina very kindly updated the description for me this
Okay,
afternoon. So
yeah, check out the description. All the lights Gavin's using are in there.
okay, there we go. So I can use my second light as an edge light, a separation light, and effectively 3 lights for the price of 2, which is sort of nice. I like that. Let's try a bit of black and white. Oops, let's put that into a different mode because that is not in high-speed sync mode.
So would this work with a speed light?
Yes, everything we're doing here is not specific to the lights. I'm using the Evolve 200 Pros, but honestly, we could use speed lights. Beautiful. Last one. Okay, yeah, these are really, really dramatic lighting setups. Really simple. So I've got control and adaptability. So that's kind of fun. How are we doing on time? 1:30. Wow. That went quick, didn't it? Got to say, tonight's questions, really good, everybody. Top job on the questions. Keep them coming.
Okay. So Paul asks, is there a reason why you don't use a tripod?
Yeah. Any other questions? There is. It's not that I don't like tripods, Paul. I've got one. I can actually see it from here. It's just, I like the fluidity of using my hands and my feet. So one of the things, whenever we're doing training, which is less often in person nowadays than it used to be, one of my favourite things to tell people is move your feet. Move your feet, change the picture. And we'll do that actually now, Paul. We'll get to that. I'll try and remember that as we go through. Because it's very easy just to keep standing there. Chloe's great. She'll keep modelling and moving. But you'll be amazed at the difference if you do that versus that. And picking up a tripod and moving it is harder than you might imagine.
And Kenneth asked, why are you using high-speed sync?
Okay, so I wanted to use high-speed sync because I wanted the shallow depth of field at f1.4. And in here, f1.4, these video lights are so bright, they would overpower the exposure and you'd see them in the picture. So I'd lose control of the... If you were here at the beginning, Kenneth, no flash, no picture, I wouldn't get that unless I used high-speed sync. Or turn the room lights off, or use an ND filter. I mean, turning the room lights off is
So
dangerous.
Howard has put the best zoom lens, my feet.
Yes. Yeah, it's not quite the same as a zoom, but it is the best tool you have. Right, okay, let's move everything out the way and set something completely different up. Right, Chloe, I'm going to pop this in the corner, so that's it. Don't want to get you with that. That's it. No softbox anymore. I don't want to drop this on Chloe. This is hard light. It would hurt.
So, are you using a huge aperture?
Huge aperture. Yes, I was using f1.4 for a while. Go back to my laptop. Okay, so you can tell huge aperture because if you look at the depth of field, okay, focus slightly out on that one, but there we go. Chloe's amazing eyelashes, all hers, homegrown. Perfectly in focus at the back, at the front rather, but perfectly blurry by the time you get to the opposite eye. That's shallow depth of field. That's a big, wide, open aperture. Right, so I've moved the light around. I've got the light coming in from the top corner, shining down across our background. I don't want to be in shallow depth of field mode anymore. I need more depth of field, so I'll return to my initial lens, which is the 12 to 40 millimeter lens. Remember, I'm using micro 4/3. If you're using a full frame camera, that would be a 24 to 80 millimeter focal length equivalent. And I don't need high speed sync, so I can go back to my flash sync speed, 250th of a second, f8, ISO 200. And we're just going to test those lights. Oh, Chloe, don't look at the light. I should have said that before I did the test flash. F18, wow. F18 at 1/32nd power. That's going to have to come down like a lot. That's still F18 because that's the other light I was adjusting. I just wanted to do a bit more walking. I felt I hadn't done enough steps today. Don't laugh. I'm a professional. Professional me. I think if I was a real professional, I'd have said all of that in my head.
So you had some nice comments about the last set of photos. I'll just
Thank goodness.
give it
Just
nice.
to yin and yang
nice
that up
point
a little
there.
bit.
So yeah, that last set looked great. That's Terry, and Karen said, "I love those." So
Thank you.
and the transparent room. Oh, like that. Asked, couldn't a very low ISO be used to compensate for ambient light?
It can, yes. You can also do low ISO as well. I'm at 200, so I think I can go down to about 80. So I've still only got 2 or 3 stops. I needed at least 5 stops to make that work. But that is definitely the subject of another live stream or video. Okay, so all that time to make a not particularly good picture. Let me go wide so we can actually see. It's always good to do wide pictures so you can see what's going on with your light. Wow, look at that. The spread from that reflector is like 180 degrees. It's huge spread of light. I don't know if you thought that was going to be the spread of light. It's a reflector, surely it should push it forward. No, it comes out at 100. If you can see any of the silver bits or the white bits of your light modifier, light will reach you. Just how it works. That is where a grid comes in. And I've got grids. Grids. Here we go. I've got different grids. I've got a 50-degree grid. I've got a 30-degree grid. And I've got, it's not black, that is actually a grid, a 10-degree grid. It's really hard to get it to look through the camera. Okay, 10-degree grid. Can you get that? Is that working? Well, yeah, I'm getting, that's hard to use. Let's have a look at all 3. Let's put the 50-degree grid on. Okay, like that. Right, okay, that's going to affect my exposure. And I should just be able to meter this out. Here we go, Chloe, near your chin. F5, I was at F8, so it's taken away a stop and a bit. 1, 2, 3, and a bit. So that's going to be about right. Again, I'll do a wide picture so you can see the resulting light. Look at that, okay? That's perhaps what you thought the standard reflector might do. Instead of that, it should do that. But that's the 50-degree grid, just limiting the spread to a much tighter beam. We could fill in the shadows with a secondary flash, but we don't have time, so we won't.
So you've got a question.
Sure, fire away.
So Dave asked, how do you get the black and whites to look so good on tether? Are you using a preset or just lighting to get that look?
Oh, who's that? Dave. Dave, I'm just awesome. Oh, I can't say that with a straight face. No, I'm using a preset that I've modified. So all cameras, I've used a lot of cameras recently, Fuji, Sony, Canon last weekend. They've all got black and white presets, and all of them are pretty safe. So I always go back in and bump up my contrast and choose. I've got the red filter effect in there as well, so that helps to adjust the skin tones a bit. All right, okay, so that's going to be a less spread of light and also reduce the amount of light. I know it's going to reduce the amount of light because we could see they were denser to look through. That is not what I was expecting. Have I got those muddled up? Yes. Yes, I have. Oh, for flips. I thought that was a bit thin. Look, 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 look. How are you supposed to see that? Honestly, it's tiny little print. It won't even focus. That's how bad it is.
It's blurry. How are you meant to read it?
All right.
Maybe glasses?
Yeah, I should have put my glasses on. Fair dues. Do you know, you think of it, you think, that's quite tight, isn't it? That's 50 degrees, that's 30 degrees. Let's just put the 10 on and be done with it. That explains why I got that massive light loss as well. All makes sense now. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Get in there. I didn't want to bring it down, but maybe I should have done. Okay. I'm using the modelling lamp of the new Evolve 200 Pro Mark II, and I can just about see, because this is a 10-degree grid, I can just about see when it hits Chloe's eyes. So without that, lining this up would be quite challenging, although I could say to Chloe, Chloe, can you see through that grid? Oh, yes, she can. Yeah, don't look through the grid now, because I'm going to flash it. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm also going to turn the power up. Here we go. Okay, so that is a very tight beam. I'll do some wide ones so you can see how it goes. Really tight beam of light. Beautiful. And gives some great looking images. Black and white, certainly I can do black and white for you. Glad you asked. I'm guessing the questions, I can't see the comments.
So you got a comment on there? It's from Daniel.
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 Hey!
Gotta love grids.
Gotta love grids.
Hey, Daniel.
Ah, who doesn't love grids? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I think it was Dave earlier that said about not using a tripod. Daniel loves tripods. I've used Daniel's tripod. Well, that was quite an experience. Happy day. So if I just keep taking pictures like this, I could take this picture at different zoom levels and in and out of focus because I'm not that good sometimes. But watch what happens if I just do this. Chloe, look where I was. Okay, look a little bit round to my laptop over there. Can you see how I'm changing the result? And then just by moving around. So I'm getting different images. That's a little bit on the bright side with that particular preset, but I can fix it. Okay, just by moving myself.
So Greg said the black and whites give Chloe a very film noir femme fatale vibe. I'm expecting her to be doing a movie with Humphrey Bogart.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if he wasn't no longer with us, that might work. I don't think he's with us anymore. All right, so I can put the light there, but I can also put the light here. So let's get the light here, because the same thing applies if I put the light. Can you see that as I move that around, the modeling lamp? Yeah, you can, can't you? Okay, so the modeling lamp I've got set to maximum brightness because the video lights are super bright. Not particularly nice for Chloe, sorry Chloe, but it means for me I can actually see where I'm going to put the light. So if I put it there, it's going to miss her. Now, modeling lamps are not an accurate reflection of the light you're actually going to get, because the modeling lamps are a ring of LEDs. They already have a direction to them. Inside here, I've got the bare bulb, and that has just general ambient omnidirectional light. So it's a guide. At least I know that my light is going to be roughly in the right place. Okay, so we can pop it there, something like that. Shall I find my flash meter? I think I should. Chloe, don't look at the light. And the trouble with this is it's such a small amount of light. Chloe, I'm going to put this literally right in front of your face. You might want to close your eyes. F11. We can take it down a stop. Okay. It's such a small amount of light that if I put it just a little bit to the side, left or right, then I can fall out of the spot of light. So do bear that in mind. Okay, have a look at this. Here we go. So I'm deliberately including shadows. Can you see the big white wall? You can't. Hang on a second. Look, okay. This is going to be my background. Watch this. Okay, I can see the white wall in my viewfinder. Yeah, so at the beginning when I said no flash, no picture, I meant it. I meant it for a reason. I really want to take control of the room lights. The grid, 10-degree grid, is taking so much of the light and putting it in such a small area that the light is not bouncing around the room. It's not spilling onto areas I don't want it to go on. Maybe that's a bit tight.
I've got a question.
Yeah, far away.
This is Jomar. If you change the zoom on the flash with the grid, does the light change?
If you change the zoom on the flash with the grid, does the light change? Yes, okay, so it would. This doesn't have a zooming head. This is a bare bulb head. Chloe, don't look at that. It's a bare bulb head, so I can't change the zoom, and the other head for the 200 doesn't zoom either. But if you're using a speed light, yes, the end result would change. Okay, quick little tip. When you get these, they have a little tab. Hang on. It just wants to focus on Chloe. There we go. They come with a little tab. Don't throw that away. It has in very small writing the grid degrees, which you might actually need. I mean, obviously I don't bother reading it, but it's there so you can remove your grid easily without having to push it from the other side. So when you put it back in, don't put it in that way round. put it in that way around so that your grid sticks up.
That sounds like you may have done that.
Never, never, ever have I ever done that. And then gone, oh no. Because these grids can be a little bit kind of sharp, a little sort of nail filey. Okay, so this is a bigger grid, a little bit more space. Okay. Right, so here we go. Let's take a nice little close up first of all. So this is going to spread the light a little bit more. So that's the difference between a, let me just double check, 10 degree and that one which is definitely a 30 degree. Definitely, I've checked. Okay, now if I go wide and I include the wall, it's still enough to stop. I can maybe just make a hint of the wall out depending on your screen brightness. But with a bigger area of light, I can move around a lot more.
A couple of people have asked about the things you use in the reflectors and the grids, but that's all in the description, right?
Yep, you'll find gear links in the video description. I haven't got exactly the same grids. I think the ones that Adorama have are 10, 30, 60 or something like that. So they're slightly different numbers, but the end result is exactly the same. Okay, this is cool. Right, let's try the last one. And then we'll do one more setup before we're done on this live stream. So this is definitely just, I'm getting old. Does that say 50 degrees? Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
I had to squint as well.
Yeah, oh, thank you. I'm glad it wasn't just me. I'm nearly 40, you know. So I'm really struggling with that. I'm not going to tell you which direction I'm nearly 40 in, but I'm definitely nearly 40. F10, so that's a little bit brighter. And it's brighter because the holes are bigger, physically bigger holes. So if I want to be at F8, I want to come down a third of a stop. No, 2/3 of a stop. That's it. Okay, let's see where we're at. F8, that's better. Okay, so this is much wider again. So now we have a much bigger, that's the smaller one, that's the 30. And now we've got the 50. So the 50, if I take a wide picture like this, behind the scenes, you can see how much more space that's given me to work with. I think we might just start to see, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see it, a little bit of the real world. No, it's pretty much black, isn't it? Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, again, behind me is Sam. I can see Sam and Freya in this shot. They are definitely there.
I was waving and everything.
Here we go. Let me show you. Here we go. There we go. That's what I'm seeing without the ambient light being removed.
Got my sexy socks.
No flash, no picture, remember. So when I do the whole no flash, no picture thing, where were we? Let's do it in colour. Let's do it in colour. The whole net flash, no picture thing, they kind of disappear, more or less. Maybe we should have a limited colour palette. I'm doing everything in RAW, so anything I do here I can actually fine tune later. Okay, I should watch the time because I forgot I'm not actually doing this forever. Do you actually have to stop after a while?
Vic's put classy. I reckon that was us, Frey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because your socks and my Crocs were in it.
Socks and Crocs.
Did I not mention you might be in these pictures? I can't remember if I mentioned that or not. Right, they want to charge me extra for that. Wait and see. Okay, so let's turn the modeling lamp off.
We can charge it. Hang on.
It's news to us.
Yeah.
And we'll finish off. Chloe, do you want to just step out for me? I'm just going to rearrange the studio a little bit. So moving Chloe out the way is probably a good idea. Moving the flash and my camera out the way, definitely a good idea. Let's get rid of this. So if you've got any questions, you've got a few minutes left of this live stream, so feel free to get them in. Okay.
Michael has put socks and Crocs is next week's live theme. How Gavin modifies light with them. Yeah, your Crocs would be quite good
Yeah,
at
there's
that.
plenty of holes in the Crocs, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you could use it as a
nice.
cookie.
Yeah,
You've got holes in it, shine some light through, you know.
Some
that
of the
could work.
crocs also say crocs, like a cut out of the word crocs. So, but if you put light through that, would that be backwards?
I don't know. We'll find out. No, I don't think it would. I think it'd be
There
okay.
might be some copyright issues.
Oh yes, that's
Some
that.
infringements, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Hexapop 24. This is my go-to softbox. This is my favourite grid. This grid is not the grid that just came with the softbox. So when you're looking at softboxes and they have a grid, often they'll just come with a basic grid and it's perfectly fine. However, do a bit of research on the Adorama website, have a look and see if they do a heavy duty or professional grid, which is what this is. So it is much deeper, it's much, the pockets are about twice the depth that you would normally find, and I've totally abused this and it's been absolutely fine. So it's heavy duty and the results are a bit more dramatic. And we're going to use that to hopefully create some nice pictures at the end, which is, well, pretty much now.
Jose has asked, how much light do you lose if you use gels with a grid?
Depends on the gel. So you lose light with the grid. A grid like this is likely to take about 1 stop of light away, more or less. That's a nice little average, if you like. So if you budget for 1 stop less light because you've put a grid on, and then your gels, well, your gels are like sunglasses. Some of them will be very deep, stop a lot of light, and others less so. So that is a variable question and answer. But at least 1 stop.
And James asks, how long have you been in photography? So he loves your ease of information, definitely has a great depth of knowledge.
Oh,
that's nice, thanks.
Thanks, James. I joined a camera club when I was 17, so what, 9 years? Yeah, 9 years, James. So I joined the camera club when I was 17, so that was the late 80s. And let's just leave it there. Kind of learnt a lot from a couple of guys there, Steve, Pete, Mervyn Taylor, both heavily into portraits. I was terrible at portraits, but you watch, you listen, you learn, and I guess it kind of stuck. Right, and where are we going to do this? Can you see that from that side, or are we going to be better this side? Probably better this side. Okay. A corner. Corners are good. I mean, you have to pose better than this, Chloe, but I don't think you're going to be able to be honest. That's great. So we're going to put Chloe in the corner. In you go. Corners are really good if you want to show shadows, because shadows go straight on straight walls but bend around corners. It's kind of fascinating. I like that. I've got no grid on here because I want to show what it looks like without a grid. Chloe, I'm going to pop this near your chin. F18 without a grid. Wow. Okay, F18. Either dial in F18 or pull this back quite a lot. I'm not going to do the math. You're posing already. Wait. Good stuff's coming. F8. Okay, just confirm, just so everybody can see what I'm doing. I think it pops up on the screen, doesn't it, with my exposure settings, but my flash matches my camera. F8. F8. Okay. F8, 200, 250th of a second. Quick little test photo. It will be a quick one because this is not going to be the best. I mean, it's all right. Let's try vertical. Somebody asked for full length. You know, there you go. Look, there's a full length picture for you. It's okay. I've taken worse today, but we can do better. So I'm going to put the grid on. Just going to spin this around.
David asks, where are the sandbag police?
Okay, David, good question. Why would I want a sandbag? Pop it in the comments. Okay. I will swing my legs around. Not my legs. Okay. Oh, look at that quality of that, Chloe. That's a professional attachment, that is. Never have you worked with such a talented photographer, including today. Right, okay, there we go. So a grid on there is going to take away about a stop. I'm at F8, do you want to have a guess? Stop, F8. What's it going to be? What is my new meter reading? It's going to be, I estimated a stop. Oh, ta-da! I was right. Now I could either work at f5.6 or I could increase my light by 1 stop, and I will be doing that one. Always make the lights bend to your will. Never let the machines win. That's the way I think about these things.
So Charles has put stability for the sandbags.
Yeah.
But you've forgotten you've done that.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Dean's put to keep Seth happy.
Yes, that's exactly the right. No, Seth's on me with me on this one.
This is Jan rather than Jan.
Yeah.
Because you have already hit Chloe once today.
No. I mean, yes, but it was more of a tap than anything else. No, okay, so stability, and it's
purple,
a good point.
Yeah.
If you are in any way worried about stability, if you're outside or there's a strong draft or your floor is not made of concrete, then yeah, absolutely. But the weight of this is still pretty much within the weight of that. I can really give this some intense wobbling. It's not really going to go absolutely anywhere. I might want to move the lights. It's safe. It's okay. If you're not confident that this is safe, stick a sandbag on the tool leg. If it was the long grip arm, if I was using the longer one, then yeah, most definitely. A little 20-incher, no, we're fine. Okay, so what I'm looking at is the light coming out. Let's go black and white. We've done a lot of black and white. Let's keep it in the whole black and white thing. I'm at F8. Okay, cool. And I get this lovely pattern of shadows coming down, and that is purely down to the grid. I go wide. I like to do behind the scenes pictures. I'm quite happy to include my lights in the image. I don't find that an issue. Fantastic. Chloe knows to look towards the light because she's an expert. That light's not doing anything. It's not in the shot either, so that's fine. Chloe, just tilt your head a little towards me. There you go. Whoop, double tap. There you go. So the grid is giving us that nice little beam of light. Really nice light coming down. As I said earlier, full length with the grid. Well, if the light is, if her feet is out of the gridded area, it's going to go basically dark. So if I change this around, here we go, like that. Now, Chloe's feet are going to go into deep shadow. So a change of direction of my softbox, because I've got the grid on, is going to give a massive change in the resulting images.
So I said you could just have your socks on, Chloe.
No one would have noticed, it's fine.
No, your boots are fab.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes to go. So 2 minutes. If you've got any last questions, now's your time to get them in. Chloe, do you want to go down? Can you go down on the floor with those boots? And you can take them off if you like. No, you're fine. Okay. And I'm just going to move my light, pop it pretty much overhead, but slightly in front, slightly off to the side. Still nice and safe. Yep, still good. Normally I'd stop and take a meter reading, but there's 2 reasons I'm not taking a meter reading right now. The first one is I'm pretty confident I've got the distance about the same. And the second one is Chloe won't thank me if I slow down, because having your knees bent like that for too long is a bit of an issue. Ooh, that's a wall. Who put a wall there? I just want to go the other side of this wall. Get a clear, Chloe. Can I have a clear wall? Come on, people. Professional.
Is that you to yourself? Professional.
Wow. I bet Daniel wasn't going to get this grief. No one's going to give Daniel this grief. They're all going to be, Daniel, you're
Seth?
amazing.
Seth's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair,
Yeah.
fair point. Right, okay. Okay, I can put Chloe's face in shadow and then we won't see that she's laughing. Okay, lovely. Last picture. I'm just going to come down here, down to the same eye height as my subject. Beautiful. Done. There we go. And that is the top of the hour. You can stand up again now. Whoop. Ta-da! Wow, that was exciting. So grids. Grids in my small home studio are essential for two basic reasons. They are the control of light to stop it spilling everywhere and putting light only where I want it to go. Whether that's for creative purposes or whether that's just for general improvements and reducing the post-processing, a grid is an essential tool. Hopefully that's given you some ideas on what you can do with grids. Hopefully you found this useful. I don't know if anyone's still watching.
Really nice comments coming in.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Great.
So thank you, everyone. That's great. Yeah, give us a thumbs up before you go. That'd be great.
That's
if you haven't
always
done
useful.
already.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Right, okay, so let's do some thank yous. Give it up for the awesome Chloe. Woo! You'll find Chloe's Instagram link in the video description down in the video description. Freya on the Super Switcher and Sam on the comments.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for all your comments and just joining in. It's
Is there
great.
actually Pims in your Pims tray?
No.
Oh,
I don't think it's ever had Pims.
No.
It carries cups of tea.
wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to be back again in 4 weeks on Adorama, I think. 4 weeks' time. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting this.
I was trying to think of the day.
4 weeks'
Trying
time.
to think of the date. Right.
But if you can't wait till then, you don't have to wait long. 2 hours, less than 2 hours. Daniel Norton will be right here on this channel doing his amazing stuff, getting super soft lighting. So come join Daniel for that. And of course, check out Adorama Events, which is our other channel, which streams pretty much everything that's happening in the event space over at the Adorama store. So come join us there.
7th of November.
7th of November. Doesn't sound that far away, does it really? 7th of November. So yeah, 4 weeks' time we'll be back here doing, I don't know what. Come find out and it'll be something exciting, I'm sure. Right, that brings us to the end of the session. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.